Let's talk about the toxicity really quickly. And like I said, in 2012 and prior, the big issue that we were looking at was the VOCs and the lithium hexafluorophosphate. So HF is being produced. So we look at this. Sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen sulfide, hazmat call toxic stuff. This is bad. This is bad, right? Ethylene, propylene, methane, ethane. That's our petrochemicals. That's the flammable VOC that's being released from here. That's what we have going through there. Hydrogen cyanide and carbon monoxide. The toxic twins in structure fires. So we're seeing a lot of constituents there. This is fire smoke, but it's just more toxic fire smoke, right? But then you start looking over here. There's that HF that they talked about. FSRI, when they did research for energy storage systems a few months ago, they were measuring for hydrogen fluoride. You know what they didn't find? Hydrogen fluoride. Why not? HF is unbelievably reactive. That's why it's so toxic to us. It reacts with everything. It mixes with the air. It mixes with the water vapor and the smoke, the water vapor from fire suppression lines, the metals, other things in there. So it's not that it's not a hazard, but when it comes on out, it reacts with other stuff and becomes benign. We need to wear our respiratory protection. Hydrogen gas, already talked about that. That's what's causing these explosive events from these batteries. And then we start getting into metals. We were worried about cobalt. But then you start listening to that last video and you look at that last slide that we talked about. We have cobalt, antimony. A research article just came out on antimony. Lead, cadmium, chromium, nickel, copper, manganese, barium. I just talked about strontium. Hazmat techs in the house, you guys end up doing an annual hazmat physical? Heavy metal blood draw? They take all 16 vials of blood and never give you a cookie? Why do they do a hazmat heavy metal blood draw for my hazmat techs in the house? Is it because you end up going to foundry events all the time? Do we go to the smelter for hazmat calls all the time? No. I don't go to the, no, what's going on here? It's because of not the lethality of this, but because of the persistence of these metals. They cannot be excreted from the body. They bind with my neuroreceptors and they stay there. For everybody else, we know this. Lead poisoning, mercury poisoning. We worry about the kids eating the paint chips. Why? Because of lead. Because it builds up in our body, and it's very susceptible to our young kids, right? You think the other metals are any different? These things are toxic at very low levels, and they continue to build on up. When we start seeing these fires, you're going to see a few anodes and cathodes. That black paste that we saw is not there. That black paste is full of the nickel, the manganese, the cobalt. That's the testing that the gentlemen in the back row are working with, and that's why they're supporting this. Because at first we were worried about the VOCs and the lithium hexafluorophosphate, and we started realizing, crap, we're only getting a copper and an aluminum piece of metal when we come out of this. Where is the rest of the stuff? On the walls, on the floors, on the ground, on my PPE, in me. That's what we're worried about. That's what we're focusing on, right? So the EV industry started fighting back. Good, bad, and otherwise, guys. Like I said, there's no politics when it comes on down to this, but they ended up doing research surveys. They're like, guys, look, EVs, they're no different than internal combustion engines, ICE vehicles. Look at the increase of HF and all the other toxics for an EV. An internal combustion engine has the same peaks. Wow. EVs are just as safe as car fires. Wait, let's flip that on its head. Car fires, any car fire is just as dangerous as an EV fire. Wear your PPE. When's the last time we studied car fires, just general car fires and the stuff coming off them? How are cars made compared to today than just 10, 15 years ago? Like, how toxic are these materials? Let's go out to Kentucky. Well, shall we? I'm not blaming these firefighters. I never blame firefighters in my videos. It comes down to our lack of training, our lack of knowledge. I've even been there. I didn't tell you about the story on one of the last slides, but that's all right. We have our initial responders here with their extinguishers. This is a Yard Garden Expo a few years back. They saw it was like a 3.6 kilowatt hour battery from a riding lawnmower. This is actually one of their test models, so it's pretty bad PR for this company. They want to get stuff on this. So now, 911, what's your emergency? The lawnmower is on fire. When you hear a lawnmower on fire, what do you think we're getting toned out to? A Honda, right? A Briggs's, yeah. You see this when you roll up and say, whoa, that's not the size of, that's not my secondary that I was expecting, right? So I'm not gonna blame my first firefighter coming on in without SCBA. He's probably expected a tiny little 1 gallon gasoline lawnmower. Like, no, it's a big machine. We have to ask information captains, lieutenants, officers, You need to ask the question. He could not put out the gas fire of the cells inside the battery. The pizza is still in the oven. You put water on this all day long, it's not going to put the fire out. It's going to, the pizza box in that oven, how is the fire going to go out if we never open the pizza box, the oven? It's going to consume its fuel, right? It's going to consume its fuel. So, we need to sit back and let it wait. But we don't know that just yet. And we don't like to lose, right? Firefighters don't like to lose. I put the wet stuff on the red stuff. I put that fire out, right? These guys are going to get a hard knock on it and keep on working. Wear your PPE. All those toxicants that we just talked about are going into their lungs right now. They're getting chronic exposures, they're getting acute exposures. We need to watch out for them.